agree automatically to extend these subsidies, which were passed during the pandemic, after the pandemic is over, permanently. And that's just some of my colleagues' demands. I mean, you need an Excel spreadsheet to be able to follow their demands. Their demands to keep government open, you stack them here, you could stand on them and paint the ceiling. And that's not much of an exaggeration. And when Senator Schumer announced these demands, that's when I knew. I knew it in a nanosecond. We're going to have a shutdown. Because my colleagues, my Democratic colleagues, are very smart people. And Senator Schumer is a smart person. And he knew when he announced these demands that I could tell he wasn't serious. He knew they were unserious. And he knew that neither the president nor the other members of Congress were going to accept them. And you know what? Many Democrats know they're unreasonable as well. So that's why I say the policy part of this makes absolutely no sense. And that's because this isn't about policy. This shutdown is about politics. Now, parties change. Just like the human experience changes over time. Political parties change. My party's change. So is the Democratic Party. And there is a wing of the Democratic Party, I call it the socialist wing. Some less charitable people call it the loon wing of the Democratic Party. And they are in charge right now. And the non-loon, non-socialist Democrats are scared to death of them. And this particular wing of the Democratic Party that's in the ascendancy, what do they believe? They try to out-weird each other all the time. They hate, if you listen to them, they hate Thomas Jefferson. They hate Abraham Lincoln. They hate George Washington. They hate Dr. Seuss. They hate Mr. Potato Head. They think our kids should be able to change genders back and forth at recess. Kids. And if it's their preference, should be able to undergo sex change operations while minors paid by you, the taxpayers. They believe that. They believe in open borders. They believe that if you support the law, which says you have to be vetted to come into our country, if you support the law, you're a racist. I think if you support the law, you're being prudent. But they believe in open borders. And my Democratic friends are about to elect a new mayor in New York City who is a member of the loon wing. He's a self-avowed socialist. He has said if the Prime Minister of Israel comes to New York City, he will have him arrested. But this is not the majority of Democrats that believe this. I don't think that for a second. And I know many of my Democratic colleagues here don't believe that. But the loon wing, the socialist wing, the angry Gary Busey wing of the Democratic Party is in ascendancy. And they've got a lot of power, enormous amount of power. And many of my Democratic colleagues in the Senate are scared of it. And the loon wing is mad at many of my Democratic colleagues in the Senate. They shouldn't be, but they are. And therefore, many of my Democratic colleagues in the Senate are scared of the loon wing. And they want the loon wing to love them. The loon wing will never love them. They're better off doing the right thing, and they know what the right thing to do is. But that's why I say this is a political decision, and that's why we're going to shut government down. Now, once you shut government down, unless you're prepared to leave it shut down permanently, and maybe my Democratic colleagues are, but I don't think so. I still, maybe I'm naive, but I still think too many of my Democratic colleagues in the Senate know better. Once you shut government down, you got to get back open. How are they going to get it back open? We're not going to agree to their demands. $1.5 trillion. They know we're not going to agree to it. So how is my friend Senator Schumer going to get government back open? You know, there's a famous movie line. I don't remember the movie. I think Denzel Washington said the line. I love Denzel Washington. He's what cool looks like. Guy's awesome. He's a total baller, man. I love Denzel Washington. But anyway, I think he said in one movie, if you pray for rain, you better be prepared to deal with the mud. And truer words were never spoken. So if you want to shut down, I say to my Democratic friends, you better be prepared to deal with the mud. How you going to get it back open? How you going to get it back open? I wouldn't want to be in their shoes to have to make that decision. Let me just say a few words. Every time we do a shutdown, it scares the living daylights out of the American people, especially our elderly. It breaks my heart. All of us get phone calls from folks scared to death. They're not going to get their Social Security check, or they're not going to be able to see their doctor, and it just breaks my heart. So I want to give them a little bit of assurance. During the shutdown, the executive branch will be in charge, and the Trump administration is not going to do anything to hurt our elderly. I want to assure them of that. If you're receiving a Social Security check or Medicare or Medicaid or a veteran's disability, your checks are going to continue. We will make sure of that. Trump administration will make sure of that. Government may be shut down, but essential workers will still be there to make sure those checks are sent out. If you're hungry and you don't have the money to eat, we're not going to let you starve to death. The administration is going to continue payments. We call it, some people call it SNAP. I call it food stamps. And we will continue the payments for the women, infants, and children's program. Most of us refer that to WIC. You'll still get your mail. Don't worry about that. Postal Service will be working through the shutdown. If you depend for health care on your Veterans Administration and VA medical centers, they're going to remain open. So I don't want you to be scared about that. Now, you're going to notice an impact. Probably we've got 2.5 million federal employees. Probably 750,000 aren't going to be on the job. Under the law, they have to go home. So you will notice an impact. You'll notice it in our parks. You'll notice it in our museums here in Washington. If you're visiting, you'll notice it in many of the federal agencies. That's the law. They can't come to work in a shutdown. Doesn't matter who initiates the shutdown. We still got a little time. It's midnight tonight, and we're going to be taking some votes here in a few minutes. Give our Democratic colleagues one last chance. One last chance to do the right thing. And I certainly hope they accept it.
Sen. John Kennedy, the storyteller. He's the only one speaking, and he lays out his case for why a government shutdown is happening. The problem. He says the shutdown is because Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, are demanding a permanent extension of expanded Obamacare subsidies without any reforms. He argues this is unfair because people making a lot of money are getting taxpayer help meant for lower-income families. The real reason. He claims it's not about policy, but politics. He says a radical loon wing, or socialist wing, has taken over the Democratic Party, and moderate Democrats are too scared of them to do the right thing. The rant. He goes on a wild tangent describing this loon wing, claiming they hate George Washington, Dr. Seuss, and Mr. Potato Head, believe kids should change genders at recess, and want open borders. The reassurance. He ends by calmly telling the American people, especially seniors, not to worry. He assures them that essential services like Social Security, Medicare, and food stamps will continue during a shutdown. Okay, y'all, that was a journey. Only Senator John Kennedy can start with Obamacare subsidies and end up talking about Mr. Potato Head and the angry Gary Busey wing of a political party. His style is just one of a kind. One minute he's explaining complex policy, and the next he's praising Denzel Washington as a total baller, man. It's impossible to look away. The whole rant about the loon wing was completely off the rails, but undeniably memorable. He paints this picture of a party that's against everything from American history to children's toys. It's designed to be shocking, and honestly, it is. But the most interesting part for me was the sudden shift in tone at the end. He goes from this fiery, almost comical rant to a very calm, grandfatherly voice to reassure seniors. That's a very strategic move. Stir up the pollet. I call base with the wild accusations, then calm the general public by telling them everything will be okay. It was a masterclass in political communication, whether you agree with him or not. When you hear speeches like this, full of colorful language and wild claims, it's easy to get caught up in the entertainment. My advice is to always try to separate the performance from the policy. The rant about Dr. Seuss is designed to get headlines, but the real debate he started with, about who should get Obamacare subsidies, is a serious policy issue with real-world consequences. Always try to look past the shocking sound bites and ask yourself, what is the actual disagreement here? Doing that helps you stay informed instead of just entertained. What was the wildest line for you in that speech? The Mr. Potato Head part? The angry Gary Busey wing? Let me know in the comments below. If you love breaking down these unbelievable political moments, do me a solid and smash that like button, and be sure to subscribe to my shock filer. You won't want to miss what's next. Peace.